I want to tell you right now that Donald Trump outsmarted the world. Trust me, I'm an American. I support my president. But that's not really what happened here, from what I understand. And I know I'll get pushback, but here's what it is.
Follow me on this one, my people. Trade war is just war by other means. You don't use violence, you use money. It's still a war. Prevents you from shooting each other, us and China. So good. I like trade wars over conventional wars. And Trump is winning, and he's going to win. And that's why I'm rooting for him. Like all wars also, including physical wars, Trump's biggest enemies are from within, not without. China's not his biggest problem. It's the American left that's rooting against him and wants Trump and the middle class to lose this trade war. Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel. Let's watch Scott Bessent.
In terms of escalation, unfortunately, the biggest offender in the global trading system is China, and they're the only country who's escalated. And I can tell the rest of the world that I'm not sure whether it was the prime minister or the economic minister in Spain made some comments this morning. Oh, well, maybe we should align ourselves more with China. That would be cutting your own throat, because I can tell you that these Chinese exports that the U.S. tariff wall is going to keep out, that China, for all of you who can remember that Disney movie of the brooms carrying the buckets of water, that is a Chinese business model.
That's the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Do, 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 were the brooms that go. Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia.
It never stops. They just keep producing and producing and dumping, and it's going somewhere. And I think, Rob, at the end of the day, that we can probably reach a deal with our allies, with the other countries that have been long-term. They've been good military allies, not perfect economic allies, and then we can approach China as a group.
Approach China as a group. Are you guys getting the strategy now? I think he's giving us hints as to where they're going. First of all, this whole tariff had nothing to do with the rest of the world. It had to do with us isolating China to get them to buckle under and get them in line. And that's going to take a huge Herculean effort, because we've damaged our economy so much and offloaded so much of it to a communist regime. We've benefited them. And Trump is getting it back. Scott Bessent here is doing great, carrying Trump's water.
First off, we should point out that one of the good things about this is that Scott Bessent is finally in the White House. He's finally leading this. I mean, up until a couple of days ago, it was Lutnick, it was Peter Navarro, the Commerce Secretary, the trade advisor, very much hawks. Now it's Scott Bessent, who believes in cutting deals as opposed to, just just putting these tariffs out there and let's be a mercantilistic economy. That's number one.
Tariffs. Why the pause now? What led to that?
No, again, President Trump created maximum negotiating leverage for himself, and which tariffs went into effect 15 hours ago. The ones that we have lowered went into effect a week ago. They were announced a week ago, and we have just been overwhelmed by the response from mostly our allies who want to come and negotiate in good faith. So we are expecting them to come with their best deal. As I said a week ago today, don't retaliate, hold your ground, let's see what happens. And China, they kept escalating, and now they have 125% tariffs that will be effective immediately.
I've seen a lot of Republicans say Scott Bessent doesn't believe a word of what he's saying in support of Trump. I don't think so. I think tariffs are a great strategy. I think people understand it. They've been used so much in the past that it's obvious that it's common and normal to perform tariffs. It's only a big deal when Trump does it. Here's a little more Scott Bessent on some of the backfill on that detail when he was over on, let's see, this is Tucker Carlson.
And President Trump cares, this administration cares, and this is the first step towards realigning that. A lot of our trading partners, including some of our allies, have not been good partners. If tariffs are so bad, why do they have them? Why do they have them, right? Or if the American consumer is going to pay all the tariff, then why do they care about tariffs?
Right.
Because they're going to eat them. So I think that this is the beginning of a process. We're going to reindustrialize. that we have gone to a highly financialized economy. We have stopped making things, especially a lot of things that are relevant for national security. I think one of the few good outcomes from COVID was we had a beta test for what maybe a kinetic war with a large adversary could look like. And it turned out that these highly efficient supply chains were not strategically secure.
So that's when we lost our supply chains through COVID. Remember, there was the TP shortage, and everyone was, all TP was gone. We couldn't get more TP. We couldn't ship, and nothing could ship from overseas. That supply chain shut down. That's another form of soft financial war that happened during COVID. It wasn't deliberate. I don't know who did that, but I'm only saying what Scott Bessent is saying is he's pointing out there's weaknesses in our system. And it's because we've turned our back on manufacturing and gone essentially to be a country that just manufactures money. It's all digital trading. It's not based on building, Ford car engines here anymore.
So that we don't make our own medicines, that we don't make our own semiconductors, that we don't make our own ships anymore. So I think if I were to say, like, was there any good outcome from COVID? It woke the world up to these supply chain problems.
Very good. So we're going to turn that around. I like, this is big picture stuff. Who's going to argue with that? Okay. This is some liberal who hates Trump's going to come and argue with that. Trump's going to win. He's going to beat you on this argument. He has tended to be right about the economy because he has guys like Bessent and Lutnick informing him to be right. Okay, now look, speaking of being right, here is, this is Speaker Mike Johnson said he is confident he will have enough votes to pass the Senate-crafted budget resolution, which the House Rules Committee advanced in a 9-3 vote Wednesday, today, when it hits the floor. Now, this is Mike Johnson. Talk about Trump wins. This is a guy that you shouldn't bet against because so far he's been right. Everyone said, oh, you're wrong. You're not going to have the votes. You're not going to get the votes. And he keeps saying, no, I think I have the votes again.
But do you have the votes to pass the budget resolution?
We'll have the votes today at some point, yeah.
That sounds confident to me.
Are you still trying to work out some plans, some negotiations at this point?
All I do all day long is negotiate with everyone.
What's a
Are you
big...
expecting President Trump to call the folks who are still undecided?
He's told me he's willing, but I hope it doesn't come to that.
He's willing to make the calls on the undecided, but he hopes it doesn't come to that, man. That is a man with a mission. Don't bet against Mike Johnson. I'm telling you guys, to everyone who calls him a rhino and no good and a sellout, I think he's working hard for Trump to get his budget through. That's my opinion on the matter. Here's another huge Trump win. Last one of this video, guys. So I wanted to give you guys something to end on a smile on today's news. Here it is. Breaking. Federal court green lights Trump terminating government employees, ending the last remaining block by a judge, according to Politico. What is this? When Trump he did not, any federal employee that had not been picked up to work yet, he just cut them as part of a normal government cutting program. And then these federal judges took him to court illegally and tried to exercise their will over the presidency and say, hey, I'm a little local circuit, little federal judge, and I say, you can't cut these employees. You have to keep all these government employees. It got overturned at the court. The court said, the Supreme Court said, no, Democrats lose, Republicans win. The Supreme Court has stayed a similar preliminary injunction issued by the United States District Court, D.C. Court, for the Northern District of California. All these numbers, blah, blah, blah. We therefore grant the government's motion for a stay of the preliminary injunction pending this appeal, the clerk will set an expedited briefing schedule entered at the direction of Judge Rushing with the concurrence of Judge Wilkinson. Judge Benjamin filed a separate dissenting opinion. So now I'm going to reread that quote. Federal court, it greenlit Trump's ability, his terminating of government employees. Last remaining block. So these federal judges, one by one, Trump is winning. He's not, they're doing their job of trying to launch all these federal cases against him. And then the court system, because the law is actually working, is reversing them all, rejecting them all. And Trump is allowed, lo and behold, the president is allowed to do his thing.
But number two, let's recall what happened overnight. And from what I understand, and I'm getting this from people that are talking to the White House, what happened in the bond market overnight, the spike in yields on the 30-year and the 10-year bond, which showed that people were dumping our bonds. And who were those people dumping our bonds? Japan, the biggest holder of bonds, was selling bonds. That's what I'm getting from some very big money managers. China, maybe to some extent, but it was largely Japan and others. If you have a mass sale of bonds, that means people are losing confidence in the U.S. economy, on the ability to do deals with us. And from what I understand, this is what forced the hand of this 90-day reprieve. Now, is it a good thing? Are people coming to the table? Yeah. But if you read between the lines, or not even what Scott Bessent said, we have no deals, right? There's nobody that is really there saying, this is what we're going to do. And they paused it anyway. So my thing said, well, I'll give you this. There is some art of the deal here. And by the way, brilliant move by putting China in the corner. But that's a whole separate thing. Because remember, that's a very difficult negotiation. Everybody else is a lot easier. They do want to deal with us. Whether they want to be, forced into really bad trade deals on their end is a whole other negotiating story. But make no mistake about it, you cannot divorce this decision right here from what happened last night, which was, people focus on the stock market all the time. It's the bond market and the sort of lending markets that's the plumbing of the economy. And those markets were imploding last night. And that's why we have a 90-day freeze. Let's see if those markets improve. Someone told me we had a decent treasury auction today. But if you can't sell your treasuries, guys, and people are unloading your treasuries, like Japan, which is, I believe, the largest foreign holder after China.
All wins for Trump so far this week. Oh, look. Hold on. Bonus. I had the skin cancer cut off my nose, and they burned 2 spots on my face. So we're going to have some fun with my face for the next couple days. Thanks for watching. I'm Doug in exile.